trig functions examples 1 through 4. For examples 1 through 4, we will be using our sine, cosine, and tangent functions to determine the measurement of a missing side of a right triangle. Which function we use will be determined by the information we are given. So for example 1, we have a side x, an angle of 63 degrees, and the hypotenuse of 50, since it's across from our right angle. Looking at that angle of 63 degrees, the x, or the leg that is x, is opposite our 63 degree angle. And as I said earlier, the 50 is our hypotenuse. This means we will be using our sine function. Sine of 63 equals our opposite x over our hypotenuse 50. We'll multiply both sides by 50 so that we can isolate our x value. So x will equal 50 times sine of 63. We can type that into our calculator. So 50 times sine 63. Enter. You get 44.55, so since we're rounding to the nearest tenth, 44.6, or 44 and 6/10. Our triangles in this case don't have any units, so we don't need to worry about that for this particular problem. Looking at example 2, we have a hypotenuse of 10 and 9/10. We have an angle of 40 degrees. And looking at that 40-degree angle, we have a side opposite, or a leg opposite, of x. So for this one, we have, again, opposite and hypotenuse, so we'll use sine. So sine of 40 equals x over 10.9. We'll multiply both sides by 10 and 9/10. So x will equal 10 and 9/10 times sine of 40. Again, we're going to type that into our calculator. 10.9 times sine 40 equals 7.006, so 7.0. Since we're rounding to the nearest tenth, you do need that 0 since it didn't end and we are rounding. Okay. Scrolling down to number 3. For this one, we have our angle measure of 25 degrees. Across from that, we have an x for a leg. And then next to that, we have a 15 side for a leg, and that's going to be adjacent. So we have opposite and adjacent. So for this, we're going to do tangent. So our tangent of 25 equals our opposite x over our adjacent 15. So multiply both sides by 15 to get x by itself. And x will equal 15 times tangent 25. Typing that into our calculator, 15 times tangent 25. Enter. 6.9946. So that 9 is going to round up that next 9, and which is in turn going to round up the 6 to a 7. So for this one, we will also have x equals 7.0. Again, we need the 0.0 since we're rounding to the nearest tenth, and it is a rounded number. For number 4, we have an angle of 32 degrees And next to that, adjacent to that, is a leg of 20. And we have a hypotenuse of x. So we have adjacent and hypotenuse, which means we're going to be using cosine. Cosine of 32 equals 20, our adjacent, over x, our hypotenuse. To get rid of our fraction, we're going to have to multiply by our denominator, our x value. So multiplying both sides by x will give me x times cosine 32 equals 20. Now to isolate the x and get it by itself, we'll need to divide both sides by the cosine of 32. So dividing both sides by cosine of 32, x will then equal 20 over cosine 32. And we can type that into our calculator to get our x value. So 20 divided by cosine 32. Enter. 25.5835, so we can round that to 23.6 as our answer for number 4.